sharing. DurianASEAN.
The Durian Heat, bringing big ideas and critical opinions in Southeast Asia.
Good morning, this is Arlene.
Hi, this is Gowri.
And you're with Grace.
And of course, you are with us at our very early morning show. It's called the Durian Heat, where we discuss issues within locally Malaysia as well as regionally Southeast Asia. So talking about Malaysia, recently the Malaysian government tabled the next budget or plan. It's called the 11 Malaysia Plan. This is leading towards Vision 2020. It's a 5-year plan where the focus is to ensure that we can generate enough economic growth as well as stability, as well as focusing on areas or gaps that we never focused before in the past Malaysia plan. So what do you think of the recent Malaysia plan that our Prime Minister Najib Razak has tabled?
I think that this is probably the most important one because it's from 2016 to 2020, and 2020 has always been a very important year for us since back then when Tun Mahathir came up with Wawasan 2020. I think I was still a kid back then, and 2020 seems so far away. Like, yeah, there's still a lot of time to reach there before we become like a developed nation and with all the criteria that he mentioned. But now it's only 5 years away. It's really close.
It's just 5 years away, right?
But to me, it's very mixed feedback because there were so many plans before that. We had the 10th plan, we had the 9th plan, and now we have reached the 11th plan. So, but then the reactions from public, it's very mixed. I am talking about the public perspectives because their expectation level is just getting lower and lower, and then the attention to what Prime Minister said, his speech was not as much as before, and the people really want to see how the plans are executed before the plan was tabled, and it is actually the final leg to reach Vision 2020. And a lot of people still are doubting whether Malaysia actually can become the fully developed countries, along with all embracing all dimensions, like economically, politically, socially, spiritually, even psychologically. Is it even possible? So not only Malaysia be able to become a fully developed nation, but also be in the part of being one of the regional states in ASEAN, and Malaysia being a chair of ASEAN this year. A lot of expectation is made.
I guess the question is, can we maintain that position? Apparently in Najib's speech that Malaysia's economic growth is among the highest, not in Southeast Asia, but in Asia, apparently at the rate of 6.2% since 5 decades ago. That shows that our economic growth is quite healthy, but I think the major problem here is how much redistribution that the government can make, and what kind of economic I would say vision that the government is looking up in leading towards Vision 2020.
Yeah, so our Prime Minister has also said that the 11th plan will be people-centered, once again, just like our ASEAN theme. Well, and he actually used the word rakyat, that rakyat will be the center of the 11th Malaysian
I'm sure
plan.
He didn't copy Jokowi's speech, right? Because in Jokowi's speech, like, the rakyat is the center of Jokowi's policies.
Well, yeah, but in Malaysia, it has always been about the rakyat. Anyway, and I think Najib is trying to keep that up. But then I also have to yeah, I think I also have to agree with Grace, because I was doing just a little research on Twitter, and it seems a lot of Malaysians are actually not really skeptical. They sort of just lost hope on the Malaysian plan, and they feel like this is going to be just another rhetoric and another bunch of promises that the government is going to make, but may not really deliver. And there's been a lot of comments from, of course, the opposition as well, saying that you haven't even fulfilled the promises from the past, and now there's
looking
a
at
new
the
bunch of
amount of
promises.
people receiving BRIM, and then in his speech he mentioned that the median household income, guess how much is it?
I think I saw that yesterday. Was it 6131 or something?
6141
6141.
per month, and in fact just a month ago, last year was 4,585. It's kind of ironic because how, I mean, where do they get the number?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that. Where are they getting all these figures from?
You know, there's a lot of disconnection between the people who are getting BRIM, which is like probably 70% of Malaysians, and the people that the government said are having a median household of more than 4K or more than 6K, which is, I don't know whether to trust the numbers or not.
Well, I think it goes back to the best way to look at it is, of course, from the feedback of the people through social media, and I think that drew pretty much an outrage yesterday as well, all over Facebook, which is why I can just remember the figure so well as well. And I really don't think that is the amount, or if we...
I think the number is accurate, but it doesn't reflect the inequality of the country.
And it's not a very fair representation as well.
It could be an average of, the very high income to the very lowest income, but the majority number of people with that much of income is probably the minority. So, on the other hand, what is the vision of the Malaysian government in this particular, I would say, 11 Malaysia plan? Apparently, Malaysia's focus is to achieve a high-income advanced economy. That's the plan itself.
High income. So are they targeting on the middle income family, or high income from the oldest already high income family household?
But that's the problem with the word high income. How you define the word high income? Is it just by the GDP of the country, or is it the percentage of the economic growth, or is it the number of majority population's, I would say, household income?
And also, it goes back to what you were saying earlier. Even if we do achieve the high-income nation, will it actually be inclusive of all Malaysians, or will it only represent a select few, probably the minority in Malaysia who happen to be well-off? Because that can also affect the whole figure when you're doing the average household income. And I think going back to your question about what is the vision of Malaysia's plan this year, apart from what you mentioned, the Prime Minister is also saying that this can only be achieved if he has full support, commitment and dedication from every Malaysian. So that means he has a lot of work to do there, because I think pretty much everywhere it says Undur Najib now, so I don't know how is he going to get that support and commitment.
It includes Undur Usma too?
Yeah, sure. So I mean, it goes down to the whole spirit of the people and whether they trust him or not, and I think in that sense he probably needs to get some really good PR advisor to change.
I mean, to be fair to Najib, I'm not saying that whatever he has done is wrong or is going towards the wrong direction, but I also feel that being the Prime Minister or the state leader of any country, the responsibility is really high, and especially in communicating the kind of economic model that you envision towards the rakyat. Just to highlight what is the overall focus area and strategy that Najib has said during his budget, his 11 Malaysia plan speech. He said that the sixth strategy would include inclusivity, the well-being of the rakyat, of course, and then it would also include sustainability and green growth, infrastructure development, innovation and productivity, as well as investment in human capital. So it shows that on paper it looks great, and I think it reflects the vision of the rakyat as well. And he also named the game changer that he wished to see through this 11 Malaysia plan. Of course, number one is to increase the productivity of Malaysians. This could be done in several ways, definitely. And second, to enhance or to enrich innovation, to enrich I guess human capital through innovation, and number three is to increase the number of middle income people or households, and number four, of course, is education and vocational technical learning, and number five is green growth, again to ensure that we are growing in a sustainable manner, and we are developing in a manner that would reflect the spirit of environment protection and conservation, as well as taking in mind of climate change, which is the 21st century problem of the global world. And of course, and number six is to invest in a more competitive city-states or city. In this case, I think he's focusing on all the major cities in the peninsula, as well as Sabah, Sarawak, especially Penang and Kuala Lumpur, and of course Johor, the emerging cities.
But then with all the 6 points that he mentioned, all the six strategic thrusts that we will say, but if you go one by one, there are still a lot of questions that are remained. Like, for example, we just pick one of the six strategic. One of one is enhancing this inclusiveness towards the equitable society. Malaysia is very well known to have a multicultural and a multi-religion society there, but will be able to reach whole citizen, whole parts of the society when it comes to like gender, ethnicity, socio-economic differentiations.
Definitely.
Yes.
I mean, multicultural societies is of a bigger challenge in terms of trying to create a more equitable society compared to homogeneous society.
And then that comes with better access to the qualified education, the training, and also to infrastructure, not only from all the city side, but they also need to be able to touch all the suburban areas as well. So those are the questions still remain. But then yet, on the positive side, we still have years to go to reach 2020 here.
And I also want to go back to what Arlene, you were mentioning earlier about productivity and innovation. And productivity is another thing that's being highlighted very much in the 11th Malaysian Plan, which I'm very glad, because in terms of civil service, especially with our civil servants, we always have problems of them being not being effective enough, not being efficient enough when it comes to services, and it seems that is something that the Prime Minister wants to start looking at, and to sort of revamp the whole civil service in this country, and to hire more people who can actually perform better. And speaking of innovation as well, he mentioned that he will be coming out with specifics, although he didn't mention what the specifics are yet. He said that there will be very specific strategies to actually push innovation, because at the end of the day...
guys, I don't know what do you think, but I feel that innovation can be rhetorical for government, because the word innovation itself comes with other areas that the government need to improve. Of course, number one is to reduce bureaucracy and to make things easy for people to be able to do things, whenever they have any great ideas. That's one thing. That's one area that I think the government can do. But one area that the government is still struggling is you need to create free space for people to be able to express themselves.
What do you mean by free space in
Free
terms of...
space is in like freedom of expression, platforms for people to be able to do whatever they want that is creative and innovative, and I think this is what is lacking in Malaysia. And of course, getting the right talent in, but you want to get the right talent in, you want to make sure that they feel happy working in Malaysia.
And I think, speaking of innovation, yes, we need to provide them with a free space and also come up with more programs to encourage more people. I think the biggest problem now is that there's always this criticism that Malaysians cannot think, especially our education
It's not
system.
just us, even our sisters down there.
Okay, sisters down there. Okay, and yeah.
I mean,
So
that was the major complaint by this by the Apple company. Was it Steve Wozniak that said that Singaporeans, unfortunately, they are not as innovative as Apple company would want them to be.
okay, yeah. So I guess it's not just Malaysia, Singapore as well, but then because innovation is something that can probably really push the country forward, especially contribute in terms of economic growth. But we, like you were saying, we need people to be able to have that space to come up with more ideas, brainstorming, more innovations. But that has to come with the opportunity that's being provided to them. And I think for me, I think it should start with the education itself. That it's just too much memorizing and regurgitating, that we lack the whole thinking and analyzing skills that we don't provide to the young Malaysians, and because of that we are just so much more behind in terms of coming up with new ideas, and like the Prime Minister wants, innovating.
It's very interesting point that Gowri mentioned about how education system does sort of lock people's mindset. But at the same time, if you compare the education system outside of Malaysia, especially the Asian regions, for example, like Japan and Korea, their education system is actually more or less the same, how the Malaysian system runs. But then after all, it's the support by the government, how the government wants to push the public education system even to compete against the other nations.
So
But
what
then-
she's saying that she started out just like us, exam oriented and all that.
Until now,
Right.
until now, the system in Korea is very much like Malaysia. It's all about memorizing, and then you have to get A's in all these exams. But however, what would students actually make use of all those knowledge and informations that they learn in school? It's a matter of the government. They provide the platforms or not.
Anyway, we'll take one short break. I think we'll discuss more about education. It's one of the areas that I think would definitely propel Malaysia into a high-income nation, whatever the definition is. But I think education is one of the major key players in all the focus areas.
The Durian Heat, bringing big ideas and critical opinions in Southeast Asia.
Hi, this is Arlene.
Hello, this is Gowri.
And you're with Grace.
And of course, you are with us again on our Durian Heat, where we bring you news and commentaries and of course discussion on what's happening within this region and also within Malaysia. And of course, this time we are focusing on the 11 Malaysia plans. So we were discussing about education in Malaysia, and to me, I when you want to talk about productivity and innovation, of course you cannot just say that, oh, you need to create this program, create these platforms. I think it's important to also define what do you mean by innovation, because Steve Wozniak clearly said that another Apple could never emerge in Singapore because it's not a place for innovative ideas to generate just like that. The same goes to Malaysia. A lot of people are looking at other platforms or other countries for that. I think, Grace, you shared something interesting off air just now about education in South Korea, because South Korea also is based on heavily exam oriented system, but they do something different after after students leave schools.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, after not only after they graduate, but also while they are taking all this education system in high school, they are sent to work under NGOs or even other organizations to gain the experience. What is it like, and what is it to be expected after they finish their studies? So it's not only about getting A's in all those exams, but then also they realize the importance of having field experience out there and to work as the real employees and under the company. So they know the system already, so after they graduate they will know what to expect at the field, and also what they need to work to achieve their dreams or whatsoever the target it is.
I think it's also about following through, because most of the time the way it works at least in Malaysia, is whenever we question something, and then the government will be like, hey, but we already set this up. We already have Magic. We already have Talent Corp. We already have this. But there is no following through with the program to get more specific. Okay, you have set all this up, but what programs exactly are you providing? Are people even aware that you have all these organizations set up, and what are the benefits exactly that they can get from it? And I think you were also saying that it's more than that. It's not just I've set this up, I've set that up, or we have this now, we have that. It's about it's like if no one is really participating, at the end of the day, nothing comes out of it. And speaking about innovation will just be a rhetoric again and just be in the speech and not really executed properly in the country.
I mean, tell me one company in Malaysia that is truly innovative, besides Maggi, of course, which is not a Malaysian brand, is it? But that's the thing, like, to be truly innovative, a person need to have a global mindset, or at least a regional mindset. And these are areas that the government, I think, has a huge responsibility in propelling Malaysia towards Vision 2020. I think to start off with that mindset, you need to have a good quality of living. Of course, we can talk about education, we can talk about having a more diverse economy that is more digitally driven. But at the same time, what the government is lacking, I think, especially nowadays with the high cost of living, is providing quality and affordable housing, as well as healthcare and other and having a secure and safer environment, which is actually part of the trust of the 11 Malaysia plan. But what do you think of this? Do you think it's good enough?
I think that he has a very holistic approach to the plan. Of course, tries to cover as much as possible, and I think we even have all the details here. But then again, it goes back to the whole idea of having a Malaysian plan. Of course, like he mentioned, at the end of the day, you want the rakyat to benefit from it, and they have to feel like they are being inclusive. And part of that is, of course, to come up with some measurable steps where you can actually see the results happening. Because as much as we have all the chapters here, like you were saying earlier, it doesn't matter if it only looks good on paper and it doesn't really get executed, because as it is, people are already losing their trust and just brushing this whole thing off, when it's actually a very, very important thing for our country. It's the plan for the next 5 years. Everyone should be aware about it, but it's sad that no one really wants to pay that much attention, because they feel like it's just another bunch of rhetorics that the Prime Minister is giving.
But then when it comes to going back to Arlene's topic, talking about the income and then cost of living, in fact, just to give a little bit of facts, is today there are around 2.7 million households with the mean monthly income of 2,500 above. And then when as Malaysia continues to grow, these households, they should not miss out on these opportunities that come with the national prosperity. And you're right there when it comes to a high cost of living. It will only make worse when it comes to urban inequality, and that will limit the growth potential of rural and also suburban areas. So this is something the government really needs to look at and take into the consideration, because regardless of all these opportunities that are given by the government, there are still untouched areas that the people are suffering with the rising of cost of living.
But there's such an irony, because according to the Malaysian Wellbeing Index, it is to increase by 1.7% per annum, and an indicator of improvement in the well-being of rakyat, despite the GST and other forms of other forms of price increase.
But then again, that's only the fact, based on a certain the measurement they have taken. But then my question here is, did they actually reach out there in details of all those untouched areas? And those could be minority of the society, but those also can contribute to the economic growth if the government really, really takes into the consideration. And this particular the scheme, which is the uplifting B40 households towards the middle class society, how will they achieve is the government will implement these strategies to raise the income and also wealth ownership of the oldest households, addressing the increasing the cost of living and the strengthening the delivery mechanism for supporting all these B40 households.
Speaking of the B40 households, I think that's another thing that the Prime Minister is trying to focus on, and to say that actually looking at the B40, the bottom 40%, it's about 2.7 million if you look at the figures that they have provided, and he's coming up with some plans to at least increase their average household income to 2,500 ringgit, which should be the basic pay in 2014, and he's trying to look at least 3,000 ringgit from 2016 onwards all the way to 2020, as well as to increase in terms of education, providing them with the necessary skills and also the productivity. But going back to the idea of cost of living, I think that's also been under the scrutiny lately, especially with the introduction of GST. Although there were a lot of statements and promises made that the prices will not really shoot up by that much, but the fact is it has, and a lot of people are not happy about that either. And if he wants to really make sure that everyone is okay with the cost of living right now, I think our Prime Minister is trying to come up with more of a One Malaysia clinic, One Malaysia grocery stores and all, trying to make things more affordable for the people. But do you think that's enough? That the people will be appeased by this, or are they still very angry about the recent surge in prices?
Well, that's the thing. I'm looking at the speech of Najib here. It's really good, as in like he's really trying to address, at least in his speech, all the socio-economic issues that the rakyat is facing. For example, minority groups like the Portuguese, the Chinese, Indian, and all other minority communities. He said that he will provide development support and other forms of protection to ensure that their rights are being protected, especially their socio-economic development. And he specifically mentioned about the Kampung Baru Cina, the Indian community, the Orang Asli and Bumi Putra in Sabah, Sarawak, and of course the Malay villages who are traditionally farmers and fishermen. He also said that he will provide proper irrigation and access to water and electricity to places outside of the city areas, countrysides, and also to invest in roads and maintenance. And in fact, there's this road. It's called the Malaysia Vision Valley, and apparently is a road that is in Negeri Sembilan, which it will be something that would directly link Negeri Sembilan directly to Kuala Lumpur and Putrajaya. He also talked a lot about the Bumi Putra economy. So these are really great things. But I think when we look at the reality of what we are having right now, what we are facing right now, it's totally like, I would say, heaven and hell. What he's promising to us, can he deliver it within the 5 years, in order for us to achieve the Vision 2020? And I personally doubt so, because what we are facing right now is not just a social economic problem, but it's also a problem where the access and the distribution of wealth is totally unequal. I mean, you look at Kuala Lumpur itself, there's a huge gentrification that is creeping slowly and slowly. You see the development of malls everywhere. I mean, just look at Petaling Jaya and area nearby us. There's probably like more than 5 malls is on just a stretch of the LDP road, and if you look at places like Bangsa South, used to be populated by a lot of the lower income urban Malay or urban household, but now seems like the building of the mall has somehow removed the people to go farther and farther away to live in areas like as far as Rawang now. So I don't know, to me it's hard for you to address socio-economic issue when there's not enough I guess focus on addressing inequality, especially inequality when it comes to urban and rural areas.
I agree with you. Another thing that I would like to highlight here is also about Sabah and Sarawak, because you were talking about how KL itself is so different if you visit other parts of Malaysia. And I think I read an article that before that said the government should realize that Malaysia is not KL. KL is KL. People in KL probably a little well off, and we have certain infrastructure that people from other states do not have access to, and a better a bus system, although it still of course can be improved. But then especially if we look at Sabah and Sarawak, it always seems like they are the neglected ones, and we see them even in rallies asking for their share of for the oil, for the petrol that's all coming from there, also all the logging that's happening, and
illegal loggings,
yeah. And they're not, although it's all coming from that region, they're not actually benefiting from it at all. It always goes back to the federal government, and I think the Orang Asli and the people in Sabah and Sarawak, this should definitely be the priority of our Prime Minister if he's really looking at an inclusive.
I mean, you are right to mention about Sabah and Sarawak. It's hard to imagine Sabah and Sarawak nowadays where some of them don't even have access to electricity and clean water, as if they are living in some third world countries, but they are actually Malaysians.
And yeah, they are very much Malaysians, and I think they definitely want to feel included in the Malaysian plan. But at the same time, I think when our Prime Minister says Malaysia, he should look at it inclusively and not focus on the peninsula, and look at Sabah and Sarawak differently, and probably start giving them all the things that they promised, and make them feel like they are a part of Malaysia and they're not some isolated region in the country.
But then here the ironic part is this plan is always 5 years planned, and I will say there was no rush in executing all these plans immediately, but then the government really needs to look at what's the root of all these problems that come from, because Malaysia has a lot of potential when it comes to developing the nations, and then having all these own democratic rights in this nation. But like we mentioned about the Sabah and Sarawak, the other states of Malaysia, are they respected equally, and are they treated equally? I mean, Kuala Lumpur is not the only state from Malaysia. Malaysia is pretty huge if you talk about the territorial, perspectives. So it is to shape a better economic future for Malaysia. It is really important to look at each economical state from different states, and to be able to come up with a solution differently. Is another story for the government to come up with the perhaps different plans.
Anyway, we'll take another one short break. When we return, we will discuss more on the 11 Malaysia plan.
The Durian Heat, bringing big ideas and critical opinions in Southeast Asia.
Hey, this is Arlene.
Hi, this is Gowri.
This is Grace.
And of course, you are back again with us on our Durian Heat, discussing on the 11 Malaysia plan. So from education to socio-economic stuff, including housing and all that, I guess I want to go back to economy, because I'm passionate with the issue on wage, especially the high wage gap that we have in Malaysia. My question is, what is the minimum wage for a high income nation? Give us a number.
High income nation minimum wage.
Yeah.
I think it should start from 3K.
Yeah, I think 3K is a good figure.
Yeah. Tell that to Najib. So our current minimum wage, apparently he's going to increase it to 1K. I think it was reported a few months ago. But I still feel that if you have this vision of 2020 of a high income nation, it should be on par with the quality of living, and quality of living, especially in Kuala Lumpur, shouldn't be just at 1K.
I mean, who can survive here with 1K? It's crazy. And well, talking about that, if that is his idea of a high income nation, it's probably not very practical as well. And will it actually solve any problems?
And I think he needs to address critically on the issue of workforce. He talks so much about educating our workforce, creating jobs, matching jobs with talents, but he failed to realize it. We have one of the biggest number of migrant workers, and not to mention refugees, of course. So I mean, the recent mass grave of probably refugees and migrant workers shows that we are a hub for human trafficking, and this would definitely affect the success of 11 Malaysia plan if the government do not address it.
And I think going back to human trafficking and human rights issue, of course, as Malaysia is seen as a very lucrative places for all these people, especially for migrant workers to come in, and as we I would say keep improving and keep raising our wage, we would probably have more people coming in, and because of that, the Prime Minister should look at that to see how, or to sort of have like a filter so we can keep control of the amount of people coming in, and also have a framework to address the refugee issues as well, especially when it comes to human trafficking, because we are so far low on the tier every time the report comes out.
Getting lower and lower.
And then also not to forget about all this when it comes to equality issue, we have the gender issues here as well, because Malaysia is very well known for being a conservative nation, and not only to talk about the religion side, but also to talk about the female and the male roles in the society, which may not make a sense when it comes to this Malaysian plan, but it is also very important because we cannot ignore also women, and then women are innovating in their own methods towards the society.
You know what I'm looking forward to?
What is it?
Tun M. What he has to say about the Malaysian plan, since he's been very vocal about Najib and his actions
I would
lately.
be surprised if he praised it.
Exactly.
But you know, one thing, I mean, to follow up from your view on women, apparently the government wants to increase the number of women in workforce by 59%, which is a great thing.
Yep.
But I think numbers can definitely be deceiving, because just because you have a lot of women working, but what kind of job they are working and how much they are getting for their job, for their pay, I think that's the major question that the government need to answer to Malaysian women.
And you were also saying earlier about matching jobs that match your skills, match your talent. By just increasing the number, it doesn't necessarily mean that he's also actually placing them where they need to be. It could just be a way of increasing the quota and say, okay, there, look, so we have X number of women workers now, and that shows that we are progressing. And another thing that I would like to bring up is also about youth. I think that would be something that I'm quite passionate about, or quite eager to listen
you're not
to.
old, right?
Not as old as you, maybe. But I think one thing that the Prime Minister has mentioned is about the One Malaysia Youth City, which he also briefly mentioned in the budget 2015, which was tabled. And it seems that for the Malaysia One Youth City, he's going to come up with a few programs for them in terms of improving their personal skills, and also to train them to think and to be entrepreneurs, so that they can actually come up, be more competent on a regional level. But then again, it goes back to what kind of programs is he coming up with, when exactly, who's handling this, and how can people participate. I think these are usually the information that's lacking, and you don't know about it unless you really try and dig the information and find out what are the platforms available for me.
So I think for young people, I think for youth, it's definitely a great investment to train them, to create opportunities and platforms to them, especially when I achieve Vision 2020. But on the area that people might not pay that much attention, but I still want to highlight, is arts and culture. Apparently, the government do want to, I guess, enhance the arts and culture in Malaysia, but I'm still questioning why it's only centering on Aswara and Akademi Seni Budaya dan Warisan Kebangsaan, which is the longer name for Aswara. From an academic status to a university status. I feel that when if a government is really serious in terms of innovation, creativity, creating a creative economy as a whole, I think that's the vision of South Korea right now. Is to not just change the status of the Aswara, but also to, I guess, democratize the arts and culture in this country. I think it's very much centralized in terms of the funding, in terms of the vision and the focus.
I think you're absolutely right in terms of the fundings being centralized, and it's probably a good thing that they are promoting Aswara to become a university, which means that probably more people can afford to go there now, because local universities, if you're a local university student, you tend to get a higher chance of getting your education loan and all. But of course, that shouldn't be the only institution that they're looking at. There's a ton of other institutions that also providing art courses, and also probably places like KLPAC, which is so dependent on private funding, and the government can look at these other initiatives as well and try to help as much as possible, because these people are pretty much going it alone and trying to get sponsors year after year, and if the funding ever stops, it could just die off. And for it to have that sustainability, I think definitely the funding should be distributed more and not being centralized on just one particular institution.
And also at the same time, we shouldn't ignore the healthcare system in Malaysia, where there are still a lot of deserved of the community. That they need to have a sort of a system or policies to increase the health awarenesses, because it was very clear that when we had a problem with the haze, not many people actually did wear masks around. But if you compare like Singapore, a lot more people did wear masks, and that's already allotting their health awarenesses in this nation.
They are more paranoid than us. Just
Could be, but
that,
it is very important to bring up the for better health outcomes from this nation.
I think overall, communication is the key for government to be able to have a successful 11 Malaysia plan. If the government can't communicate well on what's their strategy, how would it impact the people, I think at the end of the day, people will just criticize the government and be anti-establishment, and you do not want to have a government that just couldn't function well and couldn't communicate well with the people.
And it seems that just to briefly mention because you were mentioning about how it works in Germany earlier, and it seems that our Prime Minister is also saying that he's going to increase the apprenticeship and have at least 164,000 to about 200,000 youth to participate in this program, so they have more field experience. More Padawans, that's right.
We just need more Jedi Master now. So anyway, I think overall, if I were to give a verdict on the 11 Malaysia plan, I would say can do better. I think there are areas that the government maybe haven't really listened to what is happening on the ground. They just assume this is what is happening and this is how we are going to address it. And they don't understand that there's a huge disconnection between the urban development and the rural development, and in terms of wage, in terms of other issues like migration, migrant workers, and every other complex issues. And I think the government is also limited in terms of understanding the people.
I think for me, I just would like them to be more specific when they come up with all these different initiatives. Be more specific about what's it called and where can people get more information, and who exactly will be in charge of executing this plan, because that will help the people to be more inclusive and feel like they are actually included in the plan, and it's not just something that takes place on a very generic level.
Even though I'm not Malaysian, what I really want to hear from all my colleagues and friends in Malaysia is I want them to say that I'm really proud of Malaysia. You know, by the way, when we come to 2020, you see, Malaysia has achieved this far, despite of having a lot of issues that we had. Malaysia still has a chance to rebrand this nation and then to set a new image or a fresh image to outside of Malaysia, to surrounding nations, or even to further like America or European countries.
I think to have that collective vision, the vision has to spread out, has to be something
For
that
sure.
Is really the vision of the people, not just individuals within the government. Anyway, thank you very much. This is Arlene signing off.
This is Gowri.
And have a good day. This is Grace.